Straight ahead, everybody!
Got it over there. Staten Island. Staten Island.
Straight ahead, please.
Mr. Travolta. Straight ahead. Nick, can you lower your head? Everybody out here, please. Hello. Johnny, look straight. Center.
Straight out, John.
And big smiles this way. Center.
Mr. Gotti, to the right.
Sure. Hello.
Lindsay, straight ahead, right. Straight ahead, Lindsay. Right.
To the right.
Walk forward.
And everyone together this way. Beautiful.
Victoria. Done.
We needed an icon. John Gotti Sr. is an icon. Like it or not, he's an icon. And we were looking for an actor who was an icon. But above and beyond John Travolta being an icon, we needed someone who could become John Gotti. The man is legendary, so is John Travolta, and he is going to do the part justice.
This is probably the most interesting untold story in this country. What a character to approach and to understand. And meeting John Gotti Jr. was one of the pleasures I've had that sent me over the top recently. We had such a great evening together. We spent about 5 hours just discussing family and life, and I even got more compelled to do this. And believe it or not, my favorite show was Growing Up Gotti. I think I saw every episode. I learned a bit about their commitment to each other, and the fears that he had of his dad. At the same time, this ultimate respect that he had and admiration for his father, and all these things. Now we only touched the surface. I mean, we have a lot more to go. His father lost a son, and I've lost a son, and we discussed that in depth and how painful that is, and how painful it was for his father. John Gotti Sr. character is filled with incredible dichotomies, and I like the glamour that he has. I like the humor that he has. He entertained the press very well. He charmed them. He charmed his fans. He had there was mystery about what he was up to, and I like playing that. And I think all these things with a script that captures it will be wonderful to play. You know, ultimately, at the end of the day, is it worth it? You know, you have to say there's a lifestyle that people pay a high penalty for, and maybe at the end of the movie you'll say, you know, for all that you get from it, is it ultimately worth the paranoia and worth the fear and worth the family at risk, and all these interesting questions that you have to say. And I would love the audience to be challenged with these questions, you know.
Are you excited about the potential of working potentially with Ms. Lohan, and have you been trying to encourage her to come on board?
Well, I know for firsthand, and I think it was on television, that Lindsay Lohan happens to be a very big fan of mine from years ago when she was a little girl, and she probably liked anywhere from Danny Zuko to Vinnie Barbarino, so I've always thought she was gorgeous and talented and filled with a lot of depth. So I think whatever she would like to do would be great with me. I have a lot of work to do, but it's part of the fun of being an actor. This is what you look forward to most, is your research and your investigation into portraying a character. How do they walk? How do they talk? How do they think? How do they feel about everyone? How much paranoia is involved? How much actual of the day is in harmony with others or disharmony. You know, there's a lot of great questions to ask, and I can't wait for the answers.
We were going to have the ability to write history correctly and accurately, and that meant the most to me.
Was your dad a John Travolta fan? And would your dad think that John Travolta was a good fit to play him?
Absolutely and absolutely. Yes. In the 70s and 80s, who wasn't a John Travolta fan? Who wasn't? And my siblings could attest to it, that we're pretty normal a family. I mean, we really do the basic things that everybody else, that normal, everyday Americans do in the household. What they're going to learn about my father and I, that it was a relationship basically where I was, for the most part, raised in visiting rooms of various prisons throughout the country, as were my siblings, because that was the life that my father chose and he had lived. What's most important to me at the end, when people walk away after watching this movie, they can draw their own conclusions. They can say John was a good guy, John was a bad guy, I liked him, I dislike him, but he most certainly paid for his sins. He suffered and he paid for his sins like a man. Having seen several productions in the past, older movies from the 90s, never quite actually depicted John, the person he really was, and how true he was to his convictions, and the way he lived his life, and the way he died. And we're going to have that opportunity. And that's why it means so much to me right now. It's so passionate to me right now to do this.
For me, it's all about truth. If we get to understand not only John Sr. and John Jr., but all the characters in the story, what happened is incredible. It's fascinating, and it'll be very successful. The hardest part of the movie is so much unbelievable stuff that happened, is how do we fit it all into 2 hours?
Well, it was an offer I couldn't refuse, to quote somebody else. And I read the script, it was very good. And I said, you know what, this is right up my alley. This is something I should probably do. And I had some ideas about how I would do it, and that's the simplicity of it.
This is more a father and son story. This is more a love story. But it's about the common ground that we stood on. It's about our history and what we were.
I think it's an amazing story, and the things that the Gottis have gone through over the years, and just everything that comes with that family, I think is an incredible story to tell. I've been speaking to some of the producers and Mark Fiore, and we're discussing me possibly having a role in the film, which is very exciting. I've never portrayed someone that I know in a film, so this would be the first, which is very exciting. I think I like that she's a very strong woman, and I really appreciate and respect that. I met Victoria younger. She's good friends with my mom, and I met Mr. Gotti when I was younger too, when I was 3, which was really funny. It's a Long Island family. It's just like mine.